We'll be talking about this throughout the course of the show, but we have an excellent guest joining us now, Libby Emmons from the Post Millennial and from the Federalist. Thank you very much for being with us, Libby.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Do you want to comment at all on the Royals? Because I led with that in the segment, so if you have anything to say, now's the time.
Oh, my goodness, the Royals. You know, being an American, I speak for a lot of us, it's hard to care about the Royals at all. It just seems so dumb that there could be people who are supposedly better than you because of their bloodline, and we're supposed to give them a whole bunch of tax dollars in order to make them, I don't know, feel better about it and ride around in carriages. I don't even know what they do. I think the whole thing is absolutely ridiculous. I didn't watch the interview. I could care less about the oppression problems of some extremely wealthy, privileged people who buy mansions in California.
Libby, can I just tell you that as someone who did talk about this interview yesterday, you just spoke for the majority of my audience, and I'm sure they feel they feel so vindicated now hearing that. But Libby, a story that I do want to talk about that I think is really going to blow up because it's just another example of COVID hypocrisy, and it's a really bad look for teachers' unions. Tell us about the story now. There's LA teachers who are advising others not to post spring break pics on social media. Can you kind of lay out this story for us?
Yeah, so this was actually a pretty shocking story that I looked at this morning. Fox News reported it locally in Los Angeles. Apparently there is a UTLA, which must be United Teachers Los Angeles, private Facebook group that has about 5,700 members on it. And one teacher, I believe he was identified as a teacher, posted for, maybe he wasn't, I don't know, but posted to remind teachers that as they go on vacation for spring break, they ought not post selfies and pics of themselves lounging by the pool on social media so that they don't make the union look bad, because of course the union is still keeping LA schools closed. They voted on Friday by something like 91% to stay out of schools, to not let kids back into the classroom, to continue teaching remotely, which, as my son will tell you, is total trash. I'll say to him, he sits across the table from me when he does remote, and I'll say, "How's it going? You learning anything?" And he's like, "No, nothing, nothing at all. This is trash."
He's honest, at least. That's good.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he is honest. Yeah, so that's basically what happened. The unions are saying don't go back to school because it's unsafe. Teachers are being prioritized for vaccinations. They're going on vacation. You probably saw, I think it was in late fall or something, whenever it was, there was a teacher in Chicago who was actually an executive with the union, went to Puerto Rico, posted selfies, bikini shots on the beach, and was like, "Everybody, stay home. It's not safe to go back to school."
No, and Libby, I'm gonna do an entire segment when I'm done with your interview about all of the examples of this. I mean, you had the teacher from Berkeley who dropped off his daughter or son, I'm not sure which, dropped them off at in-person daycare. You have the teacher, I don't know if you saw this, I think it was last week, and I think it may have been out of Massachusetts, but I have to double check. A teacher who's drinking wine and smoking cigarettes on the Zoom call, talking about how we can't open the schools, it's not safe. I mean, these situations, it's like, you get one or two a day. And I do want to read for people what this post said, because I don't have kids, but if I was trying to do my job that I do every day and I had kids at the house and that added stress, and then I read this post, I would go ballistic. Okay, this is the post. It's
shocking.
If you are planning any trips for spring break, please keep that off of social media. It is hard to argue that it is unsafe for in-person instruction if parents and the public see vacation photos and international travel. In other words, if they actually understand how big of hypocrites we are.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And what's really amazing, too, is it's not the hypocrisy that the person who wrote that post had a problem with. It was just the appearance of it.
Yeah.
So take your vacation. Go ahead. do as you please. Just don't tell anybody about it, or they might know how big of a hypocrite you actually are.
Yeah, the optics aren't good. And Libby, the other thing I want to talk to you about, because I know that you always see the double standards of the media, but I found this cut. We played it in the last segment. I want to play it again. I found this cut amazing. Jen Psaki, you've written about how they are not having press conferences and how the White House press corps keeps asking, when are we going to see him? Is he going to do this regularly? And she gave this answer that was such spin, and she's trying to convince them that they're actually seeing a lot of Joe Biden and that they should be happy with the amount of times they're seeing him. I want to play this for you and get your reaction. This is cut 8.
You mentioned last week that the president is expected to give a formal press briefing.
Press conference, yep.
Yes, before the end of the month. Mm-hmm. So that is a commitment. Before, in the next few weeks, we will see him and take questions and follow-ups and so forth.
Yeah, he has done about 40 Q&As since he took office, but in terms of a formal press conference, which I understand there's a big focus on, yes, we will have one before the end of the month.
And what does it mean going forward? Will we see more of President Biden, specifically?
More than 40 Q&As in the last month, or?
Where he will be submitted to more extensive questions, follow-ups, the kind of things we're doing today. Will we see him regularly?
I don't know that you'll see him more than 40 times a month, but I'm happy to ask him that question.
Libby, it feels like gaslighting to me.
It sure does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I have that taken as well. Yeah. And so here she is saying that he's taken questions 40 times since he's taken office, or better. Does she mean garbage CNN town hall with the pre-vetted questions? What is she talking about? Does she mean the incident that happened today where he went to visit a small business in D.C.? Reporters started asking him questions, and they were immediately shuttered out of the room. What is that? Is that taking questions? Is that giving a media appearance? Well, how would she define that? I think it's really, and he hasn't given the State of the Union yet. I think people need to know what the chief executive actually thinks, and they need to hear it from his own mouth.
Especially Libby, when every time he talks, when he's not with Jen Psaki, he says that she miscommunicated something that he said, and then when she talks, she says, "Oh no, he didn't mean to say that. That was a verbal gaffe. What he meant to say was this." I mean, it is kind of mind blowing, and there doesn't seem to be any acknowledgement that this isn't normal.
Right. Yeah, there's no acknowledgement of that at all. In fact, they just keep saying, the other thing that she said was on Friday, I think it was in that same press conference, she said that, what was it, in addition to the 40 times, she was basically saying that it was the twin crises that were keeping him so busy, the pandemic and the economy, and that because of this, he didn't have time to take questions. But he has time to visit a little business. I mean, what's really going on here? And then when she said, by the end of the first 100 days, we'll have schools open 1 day a week. And then he said, no, we're aiming for 5 days a week. She didn't understand, like he said. What is really going on? Does he have any idea what he's talking about? That's a question that I think a lot of Americans are starting to ask. We really want to know if this guy's in there or not.
And Libby, there was the other situation last week where he asked Nancy Pelosi if he could answer questions, and then they cut the feed. But my question for you is, because I don't really know what TV shows you choose to watch, but I'm kind of blown away that even some of the conservative TV programs like on Fox News, they don't run with this that often. They don't have these gaffes. It's like the emperor has no clothes, but the media does not want anyone to know about it.
I think that's really interesting, too. And it's also surprising after we had 4 years of people saying that President Trump was unfit to hold office, that he was mentally deranged or any of these other things. And say what you will about, former President Trump, like him or don't like him, he was sharp and he knew what he was talking about. And he spoke to the American people in as many different ways as he could come up with. He spoke to them on Twitter. Whether you liked it or not, he did. He was there. He was speaking. He took questions from reporters. He held press conferences. During the pandemic, he was out there so often trying to bring optimism or new information or what he thought was important. And he stood there and took questions. And he took questions from sort of obviously hostile reporters. And he just dealt with it because that's the job, right? I mean, that's your job. So it doesn't seem like President Biden is really doing that job. It's not enough to dictate policy and sign executive orders and, send your dogs away or whatever.
And play Mario Kart. But don't forget, Libby, he's got a full schedule of eating mint chocolate chip ice cream. I don't know if you know that. Actually, it might just be regular chocolate chip. I think I'm mixing them up. He's got a full schedule.
That's why he and Pelosi are so tight. Remember her fridge full of chocolate ice cream?
Exactly. That's why she gets to tell him, Libby, if
eating their ice cream.
That's why she gets to tell him whether or not he's answering questions because of their ice cream bond. Libby Emmons, I'm sorry, I have to keep this short, but where can people follow you on Twitter?
Oh, I'm at Libby Emmons on Twitter.
And you guys can check out her stuff.
And I'm at the Post Millennial. Yeah. We're running stuff like this all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone should check out the Post Millennial. I say this almost every show, but they have the current news, and any story like this one about the LA teachers is up there the fastest. They're very quick. Thank you, Libby Emmons. I appreciate it. I hope to have you back. Now, guys, if you haven't tried Super Beets Heart Chews, you are missing out. Super Beets Heart Chews combine non-GMO beets with a powerful new ingredient, grape seed extract. The grape seed extract used in Super Beets Heart Chews has been clinically shown to be 2 times as effective at supporting normal blood pressure than a healthy lifestyle alone. Better blood pressure means a lot of things. It means more energy, the way nature intended, and you get that energy without the jittery caffeine or the stimulants. I always try to have a second cup of coffee during the day, and I always regret it. So now what I do, I just go for the Super Beets. You just take 2 delicious chews a day, anytime, anywhere, to get the blood pressure support you need and the energy you want. Plus, they taste delicious. Do what I did and support your heart health with delicious Super Beets Chews. That's Get Your Super Beets Chews today. Go to getsuperbeets.com/grace. When you buy 2 bags, they'll throw in a third for free. Getsuperbeets.com/grace. I'll be back on the other side. We'll open up the phone lines with your calls. 844-500-4242. What do you think of this LA teachers story? I'm going to talk about all of these teachers unions. They are exposing themselves for being complete frauds. We'll be back on the other side. This is the Grace Curley Show.
Follow Grace on Twitter at @G_Curley.